Maptitude mapping software is designed to complement all of the work you do in Microsoft Excel. Maptitude can read and write Excel files so that you can easily perform geographic analysis on your spreadsheet data and use your results in either platform. This tutorial will show you a number of ways that you can use Maptitude with Excel and unleash new analysis possibilities impossible with a spreadsheet alone. For example, here I have an Excel workbook that contains a worksheet with customer data that includes addresses and sales volume, and a second worksheet with the addresses of my stores. Maptitude makes it easy to map my data in several ways. The first thing I will do is click the New File button to launch the Maptitude Create-a-MapWizard. Create-a-MapWizard gives you start-to-finish assistance in creating a general-purpose map or a map of your data. The first thing to do is browse for the Excel file that contains your data. And I'm going to work with the customer worksheet first, and click Next. Maptitude shows you the fields in your data that it found for mapping. You can verify and change the fields if necessary, but in this case they are correct, so I will again click Next. And now choose how to use your data in the map. First, let's geocode the individual customers on the map, so I will choose the first option to locate the records in the Excel file by address, zip code, or city, and click Next. Then choose whether to import the data to map it, or to keep a link to the original data source when mapping it. Because I update my customer Excel file frequently to refresh sales figures and add new customers, I'm going to choose this option to link the data to the map. This will allow me to quickly update my point layer in the future without having to go through the Create-a-MapWizard process again. I am, however, required to have a field with unique IDs in my customer data when I use the link option. You can see here that Maptitude has already found my customer number ID field. I'll save the geocoded customer locations to a Maptitude geographic file named Customers, and I'll have Maptitude use a size theme so that the customers with higher sales are shown with larger symbols. Maptitude uses the address information in the Excel spreadsheet to place a point for every one of the customers. In this case, of the 1,341 customer records in the spreadsheet, Maptitude was able to locate 1,324 using the address and zip code. One record was located using the address and nearby zip code because perhaps it had no zip code or an incorrect one. And 16 records could only be located at approximate locations within the appropriate zip code, perhaps because these addresses were post office boxes or were missing street address information. When I click OK, Maptitude redraws the map with the geocoded customers, scaled to show their volume of sales. Another way that I can show my customer data on the map is to attach it to an area layer such as zip codes, so that I can see the number of customers, the total sales, or the average sales for each zip code. For example, I'm going to click the New File button again to launch Create-a-MapWizard. Again, I will use the Map of My Own Data option, and notice that Maptitude has remembered where the Excel file is, so I can go ahead and click Next, and Next again. I want to add the color theme to the open map, so I'll keep this box checked, and I'll choose the Show Zip Code Boundaries with Your Data Attached option, and click Next. I'm going to choose the color theme option, and again use the Sales field, and click Finish. Maptitude adds a color theme to the map showing the total sales in each zip code. Zip codes shown in lighter colors have lower sales, and zip codes shown in darker colors have higher sales. The last thing I want to do is add the store locations to the map. I could again use Create-a-MapWizard, but instead this time I'll choose Map, Add Data to a Map, choose the Excel file, and the sheet with the store data, and locate the records using the address again. Because my store locations do not require any regular updates, I'll go ahead and just import them into the map without linking them to the Excel file. I'll save the store locations to a Maptitude geographic file named Stores. I'll choose None for the theme option, but I will check this box to label the stores, and click Finish. When I click OK, Maptitude adds the two store locations to a new layer in the map, and zooms to show those locations. I'll click the store symbol here in the Display Manager so that I can change the style from the default and differentiate the stores from the customers. I'll change the symbol, the size, and the color. And I'll also click here to change the label. I'll make it a little larger and change the color. Finally, I'll click the Previous Scale button to see all of the customers again. I have now used the data in the Excel file to show which zip codes have the highest sales, where all of the customers are located and what their sales are, and where the stores are located. Now I can use Maptitude to perform some geographic analysis of my customers and get the results back into Excel. The first thing I want to find is exactly which of my customers are within 5 miles of one of the stores, and create a new Excel spreadsheet of just those customers. I'm going to use the radius tool on the drawing toolbar here, and click on the map at one of the store locations, enter 5 in the radius box, and click OK. Maptitude draws a circle with a 5-mile radius on the map. Now if I right-click on it and choose Export to Excel, I can create a new Excel file of just the customers within that 5-mile circle. I'm going to click on the second tab here to see all of the customers within 5 miles of where I clicked. And if I scroll to the right, you can also see the straight line distance and travel time for each of the customers to that store. This next worksheet shows the stores within that circle, in this case just my store number 1. The next worksheet is data from the color theme of the sales on the zip codes. Any zip code that is at least partially within the circle is listed in the first column, and the sales for those zip codes are shown in the second column. Finally, Maptitude computes some demographic data for the area that I drew. For example, here's the estimated household income for the population living within 5 miles of that store. And if I scroll to the right, you can see the number of households in various income ranges, the population, and more. The next analysis I'm going to do in Maptitude is to determine which store is closest to each customer and how far away that store is. I'll open a Maptitude data view of the customer layer and add 2 new fields to this layer. I'll call these fields Closest Store and Distance. And I'm going to make this distance field a numeric field. Now I'm going to scroll to the far right of the data view so that we can see the 2 new fields that I just added. I'm going to highlight the Closest Store field, right-click, and choose Fill. Then use the Tag option and choose the store layer so as to tag each record with the name of the nearest store. And then I'm going to highlight the distance field in again using the store layer, tag it with the distance to the nearest store. Now as I scroll down, you can see that each record has the name of the closest store and its distance away. I can save this data view to a new Excel file so they can have a spreadsheet of customers that also includes the information on the closest store and its distance. Simply choose File, Save As, choose Excel Worksheet as the file type, and enter a name for the new Excel file. And if I were to open this Excel file, you would see that it has all the original information along with the closest store and distance to store. So I've now shown you how to export data to Excel by drawing a circle and by saving a data view. Let's suppose that I want to know about the customers near all of my stores. Rather than potentially drawing many circles, I can use the Buffer tool to compute multiple circles at once, and then export their data to Excel. First, I'm going to remove this circle from the map by right-clicking and choosing Delete. Then I'll click this button to open the Buffers toolbox. I'll make 5-mile buffers and check this box so I can compare the buffers around each store. Name the buffers with a store name, and check this box to compute the demographics. Maptitude creates 5-mile buffers around all of my stores, redraws the map to include the new buffer layer, and opens a data view showing the calculated demographics. I'm going to close the data view and make the buffer layer the working layer in the map. Data from area layers that you create with Maptitude, such as buffers, can be exported to Excel by clicking the Export to Excel button here. This new Excel file created from the buffers shows you on the second tab all the customers that are within 5 miles of one of the stores. If I scroll down, you can see that 468 of my customers are within 5 miles of a store. The third tab again shows my stores. The fourth tab shows the zip codes that are at least partially within the 5 miles of a store. And the Overlay tab shows the calculated demographics for each buffer. Here you can see, for example, that the income is highest around store 1, but significantly more people live around store number 2. The next thing I want to do is study the customers based on the driving distance to the stores. Click this button to open the Drivetime Rings toolbox. And then I'll click this button to use my 2 stores as the locations around which to build the Drivetime Rings, and create 3 rings at 10-minute intervals. And before I create the rings, I'm going to do one more thing, which is to include the customers in the ring analysis. So I'll click the Settings button, and click this button to include my customers in the demographic analysis. For each time ring, I'm going to count the features in the customer layer and sum the sales of those customers. Now I can go back to the Drivetime Rings toolbox and click this button to create the rings. Maptitude uses the drive time information for the streets to determine how far you can go from a store in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and 30 minutes, and adds those rings to the map. I'll move this toolbox out of the way and remove the theme on the zip code layer so that we can see the rings a little bit better. Now you can clearly see that most of the customers are within 30 minutes of a store. All of the customers within the red center ring are within 10 minutes. The customers within the next ring are 10 to 20 minutes from a store. And the customers within the purple outer ring are 20 to 30 minutes from a store. Now I'm going to click this button to generate a report which will include the demographics of the population within each ring and will include the number of customers and volume of sales in each ring. If I scroll down in the report, you will see first the map, and then the demographics. For example, the median income of households within 10 minutes of a store is approximately 109,000. The population within 10 minutes is about 161,000, with another 782,000 people living 10 to 20 minutes from the store, and a little over 1 million people living 20 to 30 minutes away. And finally, if I scroll to the bottom, you can also see that there are 133 customers within 10 minutes of a store, 427 customers that are between 10 and 20 minutes away, and 446 customers that are 20 to 30 minutes from a store. You can export this data for the Drivetime Rings to Excel by choosing File, Export Document, XLS or XLSX file. I'll go ahead and click Yes here to open the Excel file, and you can see that the Excel file contains a picture of the map and all of the calculated demographics and customer data for the Drivetime Rings. Now I'm going to take one more look here at the original Excel file with the customer data. Recall that we linked the customer data to the map when we geocoded it. I'm going to update the file with some changes to my customers. For example, this customer now has $4,000 in sales. This customer has moved to a new location and has sales of $3,000. And these other 3 customers in Littleton are no longer active, so I'm going to delete these records. If I save the Excel file and return to Maptitude and choose Map, Update Linked Records, Maptitude updates the customer layer with the changes. You can see that this customer now has greater sales. Here's the customer that moved to Leominster. And there are no longer any of the deleted customers here in Littleton. And that wraps up this video on using Maptitude with Excel.